What's up everybody, Ben from the Ben and Bev channel checking in today to talk about Loki's premiere episode that came out tonight. I'm going to go ahead and do a spoiler warning right now because if I don't talk about that, I'm not really going to be talking about much of anything. So anyways, if you go ahead and subscribe below, you can stay up to date with Loki or the films you should try series coming up in the next couple weeks.
Let's get started.
Episode kicks off showing us a throwback scene from Avengers Endgame when Loki escapes with the Tesseract, which sends him strangely to the Gobi Desert where he is quickly met by the TVA, Time Variance Authority. You also got to keep in mind this is 2014 Loki, so he really doesn't take the people trying to take his power in his Tesseract very well when they show up. In fact, that's the theme for the whole episode, is that Loki is actually powerless to these people as well as he is to his own destiny. But in true classic Loki fashion, he always has to test their power and authority and find whatever way he can to beat them and escape. Though it always ends with embarrassment, whether that's from getting slapped in 1/16th speed with all the full pain in real time, or looking powerless in front of the judge while on stand for his crimes. Something I was expecting going into the show is that we were going to be doing a little bit of catch-up on Loki.
Or at least this version of Loki was going to be doing a little bit of catch-up.
Speaking of flashbacks, I noticed today on Disney Plus that Legends segment just uploaded the Loki and Tesseract episodes, which are really cool and easy way to kind of catch up with everything Marvel. If you're unfamiliar with the series, each episode focuses on a character or an object, in the case of one of the ones they just uploaded, focusing on the Tesseract, and goes over the most key moments in all of those characters' histories throughout the MCU's history, which is a really nice refresher for the average fan going into the show that hasn't been watching them recently, as well as for someone who's probably completely new to this whole MCU thing and doesn't want to take upon the big undertaking of all these films before they watch the Loki series. There's lots of whether through dialogue or flashback scenes and various points of the plot lines in the limited series. And while this episode definitely does that with all the time-hopping sequences, we'd actually only spend, I'd say, probably less than a quarter of it on that. Towards the middle of the episode, in that scene we saw in the trailer with Owen Wilson's character Mobius interviewing him, we actually get to see him see some of his past memories.
Or is it past for us and present for him or future for him?
The emotion Tom Hiddleston brings to the scene and the character actually makes it a really moving moment despite just being a flashback. Oh yeah, I don't think I've talked about the Timekeepers enough, or the TVA or whatever you want to call them. They're all these very funny, overly blunt characters that don't really understand much aspects about humanity, but they do sort of have a condescension over the people that they're caring for because they view them as just variant scum. While Owen Wilson's character is definitely different than the average, they generally treat their inmates like garbage. The interactions between Owen Wilson's Mobius and Loki are phenomenal. Each interaction and conversation with them is a psychologist-style comedy segment, trying to pick out Loki's emotions and past traumas, reasons he acts so vehemently and violent, and even legit discussions over the extension of how far his ego goes. It's such a thrill to watch because both actors handle it with such a toxic chemistry. Tom Hiddleston's uneasiness and condescending questioning combated with Mobius's sly mining questions. It's Mobius's idea that he can somehow convince Loki to work with him in mending the destroyed multiverse fragmented timeline. So yeah, earlier in the episode, the TVA TVs, that's a funny sentence, were playing a Jetson-style animation cartoon explaining the timeline situation, as well as details on the Timekeepers, and how they strung the whole multiverse together to keep it from falling apart, creating a very, very sacred timeline. But despite fighting it for most of the episode and even disarming Owen Wilson's Mobius by snatching his TVA time remote thingy, they haven't really explained it yet, but if you have this collar around your neck, it kind of works like the click remote and they can send you back, forward in time, pause you for a second, send you elsewhere. I'm not really exactly sure how it works, but it's definitely comical. I mean, between this and Thor Ragnarok, they just seem to love making Loki powerless. But after finding a drawer full of what appeared to be Infinity Stones, as well as seeing the video of his own death at the hands of Thanos, he sits down and he listens to Mobius' proposal and tries to figure out what it is exactly that he wants him to do.
What mission could even require a variant Loki?
I mean, think about it. Why would the god of mischief even want to help fix the timeline?
A doppelganger.
We then close out the episode with this scene in a field showing a bunch of TVA members responding to a call. In the distance of the field you see this looming figure, and as the members walk towards him they very quickly realize it's a trap, and this, what I'm assuming is the Loki variant,
What it really looks like to me is just a Death Eater.
burns them all alive. What's not to like? More of Tom Hiddleston's Loki,
Owen flippin' Wilson.
more multiverse and time-bending madness, and what so far appears to be a really sci-fi aesthetic and feel. And let's not forget about that absolutely insane sci-fi synth-style soundtrack. Eerie pulses keeping up the pace and synth swells for intensity, helping to establish the overall sense of confusion and wonder. And though WandaVision is definitely one of my favorite MCU properties, its first episode still sent me for a whirl and really left me kind of confused on how I felt about it. This opening episode gets right to the chase and is honestly probably my favorite opening episode of any of these limited series so far, cranking the mischief and madness up to 11. There's also a scene where they absolutely flex the CGI. They show this beautiful multi-level futuristic sci-fi interior core city. The entire TVA, a bunch of spirals and fractals weaving in and out with flying cars in full HD. It's so surreal and unbelievable to see on a screen. The realism is at an absolute peak. Stoked to see you guys next week for episode 2 of Loki, and Films You Should Try's 3rd episode coming out this Friday. Thanks so much for watching. Ben and Bev,